Weather Wagers is here on this, midway point through December. We are closing in now on the 12 days of Christmas. It's a special time of year. Brett Thackeray with you, joined as always by...
Hello, I'm meteorologist Dan Tomaso, everybody. Brett, good to see you. We're kicking off a very fun time of the year that essentially any day you can turn on a screen and you can see some type of football. Now, whether or not it's good football, I won't vouch for that.
No, we're going to be talking about bowl games. We've got the NFL playoffs heating up, but we do want to start with a bit of a somber note,
Yes,
unfortunately, and a rarity here. We like to have a lot of fun on Weather Wagers, but when news happens, we also talk about it, and we just got word a few hours ago that head football coach of Mississippi State, Mike Leach, one of the ultimate characters of the sport, one of the geniuses of the sport,
yes,
has passed away. And this was not a total shock. He had been taken to the hospital, and I think that we had heard reports that he was not doing well. And then this morning it was released, his family released it, and Bruce Feldman from The Athletic, I'm going to read the statement he posted from the family. Mike Leach passed away last night from complications related to a heart condition. He was giving an attentive husband, father, and grandfather. He was able to participate in organ donation at UMMC as a final act of charity. We are supported and uplifted by the outpouring of love and prayers from family, friends, Mississippi State University, the hospital staff, and football fans around the world. Thank you for sharing in the joy of our beloved husband and father's life. And that is from his wife, Sharon, Janine, Kimberly, Cody, and Kirsten, his children. So what a remarkable life. He was only 61.
Only 61, but in that time, and I've been seeing this on Twitter the past few days, as, obviously word came out that he was not doing well, that he was in critical condition, the amount of coaches, the amount of players that have said he, had some type of influence, mentorship. Apparently, he would mentor anyone and everyone that would come to his program, whether it was an assistant coach, whether it was a grad assistant. So he lived a very full life, and the media probably did the best job at showcasing his personality. I mean, the guy said some off-the-wall things. Perhaps one of the things that went viral lately was one of the reporters for ESPN asked him for some wedding advice, saying that she was getting married, and Mike Leach retorted, well, I gave my son some advice too, and essentially, you should elope. Everyone should elope. I'm a big advocate of eloping. And in fact, I offered him $50,000 or $10,000, I should say, to go ahead and elope. He didn't take it. He didn't take the advice. Not sure what to tell you. But that was one of the funnier moments. And a story I shared on Twitter yesterday, which I thought was very interesting. A reporter, and I'm blanking on his name at the moment.
I'll look it up because we want to make sure we give him proper credit.
Sure.
Because you were just telling me this story in the Weather Center this morning, and it's just an incredible kind of legacy builder to Mike Leach. Let's see. The guy that you retweeted is actually a Denver Broncos reporter from the Denver Gazette.
So there you go. Weird connections here, all over the place.
Yeah, his name is George Stoya III. But go ahead. It's a great story.
Yeah,
so he tweeted it and you retweeted it.
I retweeted it. You can find it at Doppler Dan. But the story goes short like this, that this man's father had met Mike Leach years ago at a practice, and he was coming to observe practice, and it started to pour down rain, and from the practice field to whatever facility they needed to get to was quite a distance. So he offered Mike Leach a ride in his car because Mike was going to have to jog with the players to get back to this facility. And so Mike Leach took him up on it, and they struck up a conversation about Norman, Oklahoma, and how Mike Leach believed, again, this is another concept Mike Leach had, that if you have young kids, you should live in an apartment complex. If you live in an apartment complex, there's more kids around and there's more amenities like tennis courts, pools.
More stuff to do.
More stuff to do.
More athletic stuff to do.
So apparently this conversation went on for more than just a few minutes of a car ride. It lasted over an hour. And then Mike Leach went on his merry way. Well, years later, this man, the son of the guy that had this experience with Mike Leach, also got to meet up with Mike Leach, and Mike started talking about Norman, Oklahoma again, went through the whole story, so he really meant it. It was, a good thing for families to live in an apartment complex. And at the end of the conversation, this gentleman said, hey, you had the same conversation with my father. Mike Leach said, yep, nope, it was a great conversation, good man, it was nice to meet him, blah, blah, blah. And, of course, anyone would think, there's no way Mike Leach remembers that conversation.
With all the interactions he's had over the years.
Correct, all the people he's met.
He was being polite, right?
Yeah, he was being polite. That's what everybody would think. But as they were parting ways, Mike Leach said then, tell your dad thanks for the ride.
Then there it was, huh?
So it must have been a meaningful conversation.
It's just incredible. And, I just... we saw on Twitter there was a great video of Mike. He liked weather. He wanted to do the
Yes, he
weather.
wanted to do weather.
He was at a local station in Texas giving the weather forecast. He had a great time with that. The guy was a lawyer. He got a law degree
Yes.
from Pepperdine, I believe. And he was just so smart, so innovative, and the coaching tree that has that he mentored. I mean, you can probably pull a coach out of any major program,
Right.
and they knew or were mentored by Mike Leach. I mean, his footprint is all over the sport. And speaking of that, let's read.
Well,
a
he's
statement.
credited with the air raid offense, or at least one of the developers of air raid, which became very popular in the last 20 years. And by the way, Arizona Cardinals going to the NFL level. Cliff
Oh, yeah.
Kingsbury, a disciple
Correct.
of Mike Leach.
Yeah, I do want to read a statement from the GOAT. Nick Saban released a statement, and he said, Mike Leach was a friend, and we are deeply saddened by his unexpected passing. I thoroughly enjoyed getting to know Mike over the last several years. I never knew quite where our conversations were going, but they always made me smile. He was an offensive innovator who always did things his way and was admired for it. His teams were well coached and extremely challenging to defend. They played with poise and toughness, which is a credit to his leadership. Our thoughts and prayers are with his wife Sharon, their children, and the entire Mississippi State family. Greg Sankey has released a statement as well with the SEC. That is on Twitter. And it is just a very sad day because
Sure.
the guy, we need unique, off the beaten path people.
Well, it reminds
and
you.
he was that person for college football.
Sure. It reminds you the sport's supposed to be fun. Unfortunately, there's so much pressure that's put on these coaches that oftentimes you see them at their worst moments or when they're stressed.
Yeah,
But Mike had fun.
He did have fun, and I was reading another column in the LA Times today that the author talked about how he had called Mike Leach to talk about something, and Mike Leach went off on about 80 tangents.
Sure.
But he said, do you know what I ended the day with? He said, I ended the day with something that I don't get from any football coach, a conversation.
Right. A real conversation. He
A
would
real
take the time and
conversation.
speak to people, which,
Yep.
again, gets lost in the busyness of the world. Now, I I have never witnessed Mike Leach talk about football. And you and I were talking about this. He loves to talk about everything but football. And his play sheet, you know, all these coaches have these laminated play sheets and the fonts
The
like
Cheesecake
size
Factory menu, yeah.
Yeah, it's so tiny
Yes.
you can't see anything.
Right.
He would have a note card. And those were his plays. And it's 4 or 5 plays that would be rotated through during the course of the game. I don't know how it works. I don't know enough about X's and O's. But to me, you would think at some point someone could slow that down. But the genius of the system is good luck.
Well, yeah, he just innovated things. The air raid offense, he took on Texas and Oklahoma when he was at Texas Tech with the air raid offense. And it was really about, I mean, other people had won by passing the football, like a guy by the name of Steve Spurrier
Sure.
in the 90s. But what
Yeah.
Mike Leach did is he spread it out across
Right.
every aspect of the field,
Speed
from
on the
sideline
edges.
to sideline, speed on the edges. And, of course, that great 08 win over Mac Brown's
Yeah.
Texas team is cemented with Musburger's legendary call, Crabtree, into the end zone. And so that's how I'm always going to remember Mike Leach. And all of the things that he would go off about, which, you know, I think 98% of everybody loved. Some people may have found it a bit grating. But the reason that he did that, and this is my theory, of course, I didn't know the man, but the reason that he did that, in my opinion, was he gets sick of the media BS.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Who doesn't? They ask the same things. You know, Saban gets, you know, but instead of doing what Saban and so many coaches, instead of getting angry,
Yeah, they would grouse.
they would grouse, and I get it. By the way, a lot of people get turned off by that. No, I get it. The media is filled with a lot of BS, especially when you're
And
at
we
halftime.
work in it.
Yeah, well, we do, but I'm talking specifically about sports media.
Yes.
And, hey, coach, you know, what do you need to do to win the game? Score more points. I mean, it's just nonsense. So what happens is that you end up getting a guy like Mike Leach, rather than getting angry, he will go off on different stories and tangents
He was entertaining.
and engage the
Yeah.
reporter that way.
Sure.
So did he talk about football a lot? No, he didn't. But he talked about life.
He did.
And so many of the reporters remembered that. And they loved it, by the way. They didn't get angry that he wasn't answering their question because the man talked about candy corn for 15
He
minutes.
did. He did
You
do
know?
that.
So I think it's fascinating. It's a real shame. As I mentioned, he was only 61. Bruce Feldman, who is, he's at Fox. He's a great
one of the
reporter
best.
for The Athletic. He spent more time with Mike Leach than anybody. Shout out to him because he's got a podcast, The Audible, that I think they have a remembrance episode posted. So a little love to that podcast because Bruce helped to co-write his book, which you were saying you want to find a copy of Swing Your Sword.
Yeah, at least kind of read some excerpts of it. I want to see what the book is because, again, we have so many stories that and memorable quotes from Mike Leach.
Right.
What on earth could be in that book? I want to know.
Yeah, I think
Some treasures.
Some treasures, and Bruce probably talks about that on his podcast with Stuart Mandel. So that's just a great college football podcast and some great memories there from people that actually knew him. But you felt like you knew Mike because of how he spoke about life.
Sure.
And it's just a shame. The sport needs more people like Mike Leach.
And I also think this is sort of a life lesson for all of us that he was under some fire this year. There was some question whether or not he would survive the season. There was some anticipation this year in Starkville of a strong season, and they finished with 4 losses. I mean, there's nothing to sneeze at there. But when you have someone of this caliber, enjoy them. Obviously it's easy to be critical.
Yeah.
But there's very few of these left.
Correct. Just overall unique people. And so our thoughts and prayers are with the Mississippi State family, with the Leach family, and we certainly will always remember Mike Leach as the pirate.
As the pirate.
Of college football. More on that coming up later on. Let's review last week, though, as we continue to move forward here with weather wagers. And, we both had a tie score. And,
we did.
Luckily, Dan, when you're trying to pick against the spreader, you're trying to make a little money on this stuff. You want a winning record. That's all you need.
You want a winning record, and especially with some of the craziness that the NFL has provided lately. I mean,
yes.
How about the Texans almost knocking off the Cowboys?
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty wild. I got the Jets pick right, so I was proud of that. I had a feeling they were going to at least try to make it respectable. They did. The Eagles blew up the Giants. Unexpected, but how much fun was that? I'm going to say this again. We're the best team in the NFL. There's no questioning it.
Hands down. We'll talk more about that in a moment.
Yep. And then we both missed the Steelers. They let us down. Not a surprise. They're not a great team, but I just thought with the Ravens being down and out, it was the perfect opportunity, and they blew it.
And Mitch Trubisky came in for the Steelers because of an injury that we couldn't anticipate with Kenny Pickett.
No, sometimes you're not going to be on the right side of these, and there's nothing you can do.
No.
You have to believe going in you're on the right side of it. Now, at times, and I heard who was talking? I forget who it was, but somebody made a comment to me that they said, I was on the Giants. I was just completely wrong. You just own it. In this case, I'm not sure we were wrong. We couldn't have anticipated the injury with the Steelers, and we certainly weren't.
And they were playing good football coming into the game.
Correct. And we certainly weren't on the Giants.
By the way,
we knew better than that.
It was a 2-point game. The Steelers lost a very close divisional game. It happens.
I'm really upset with the Seahawks. This is a team that does. The Seahawks and the Titans, right?
What are they?
Both teams are a what are they, because they have an opportunity to just take control, and whenever they get in that position, they blow it. I mean, I didn't want the Titans to beat the Eagles, but I remember you because we had a bet on that. You picked them to keep it close. They didn't. I thought, sure, they can handle the Jaguars.
Yeah.
They didn't. And then the Seahawks just go and let one go this past week. So I don't know what that team is.
Maybe we should have thought more about the Jaguars because Doug Peterson's the king of kind of sneaking into the playoffs.
But I was on him earlier in the year, and I think they're good. Maybe they're getting things together. And then you had the 49ers. I mean, that wasn't even close.
No, it wasn't. Tom Brady and company, I don't know if he's hurt, if there's some lingering issue, but it's a rough look right now in Tampa. They can't get anything consistently going. It's kind of like what you just mentioned with the Seahawks and the Titans.
So we have our pie in the face bet, and we go to the overall records now, really unchanged since last week, other than adding in the new ones. But we remain tied. I am one game above 500 at 70
Tight
and 69.
margins, my friend.
And you've got, 69 and 70. So we're just reversed here. So listen, we're close. That's where we want to be. And of course, we're going to continue to pick games as we go on. But bowl season begins, and we've got some of these funky bowls here that I think as the playoff expands are going to really have trouble surviving, quite frankly.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, let's face it, the extra weeks of practice, the exhibition of it all is great for the programs. It's always mentioned that anytime you can get in, it is beneficial.
The practices make a difference, and quite frankly, these bowl games are designed, well, they're owned by ESPN, they're designed for TV.
Correct.
And I will admit, I mean, I don't, the older I get, the busier I am around the holidays. But if there's a bowl game on, I'm putting it on.
Yeah,
it's on in the background. And
now,
I don't care who's playing. It's what did you just say at the beginning of the? It's extra football.
It's extra football. It's
no
something
one's
on
television,
about that. Right? And
ding, yes, sir. Yes.
I will say that some of these matchups are pretty intriguing, and we picked a couple that I think are going to make some headway here in our picks. But What I don't like about the whole process is the opt-outs, and so we'll have some of those to talk about with each matchup.
We're going to get into that. I do want to. We're going to shift around here, Dan, just a little bit. We're going to get to Penn State in a second. We're going to bring in Mr. Shiner in just a bit, but I want to just talk New Year's Six bowl talk and playoffs quickly first. So. The matchups are intriguing. You've got some good games. You've got the playoffs again on New Year's Eve, which is not a great time slot for these games. We've discussed the fact that we believe Michigan and TCU could be a legitimately good game.
I think so.
Do you think a couple of questions about Georgia and Ohio State?
Mm-hmm.
Talent-wise, they probably have the talent to compete with Georgia, but if they couldn't compete with Michigan, I mean, we mentioned last week Georgia's Michigan on steroids, right? How are they going to compete with Georgia?
I don't see it.
Now, I don't see anybody competing with the Bulldogs.
I agree with you, but would you be shocked if that loss was a wake-up call for Ryan Day and his staff? And that they game plan perhaps a little differently, a little better?
You already have Smith and Jigba still out. I mean, he was a key part of their offense.
Sure.
I don't know. I mean, it wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me because they have the talent. Yeah, but could they keep it close? Some of the other matchups in the New Year's Six, you've got Tulane and USC. What do you think of that matchup? Is either team going to care? I think Tulane will.
I think Tulane will care. I'm not sure USC will. And at this point, Caleb Williams, a major injury to his hamstring leading into this matchup. Can he recover in time? Will he even be out there? He won the Heisman. What else does he have to prove?
What about Alabama, Kansas State? That's such an interesting game because does anybody care about it? And you want to believe that Kansas State will care about it, but I would not be surprised if we see a lot of opt-outs for Alabama.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think Nick Saban would encourage those opt-outs, wouldn't you?
I think so. I mean, disappointment abounds in Tuscaloosa right now. So I do agree with you that it might be a tough sell to the players, to the development, and you've mentioned it before. There may be two brand new coordinators coming into that program at the end of the season.
Yeah, we're still waiting for the white smoke from Tuscaloosa, but I don't see Saban keeping Pete Golding or Bill O'Brien.
Who's Lord Saban going to pull out of retirement or out of the depths of
the coaching well?
I
don't know. And then I'm missing one here. We've got the Sugar Bowl. We have the two playoff games. We're going to talk about the Rose Bowl in a second. I'm missing one.
We did Orange.
No, we didn't do the Orange.
Okay,
that's the one.
Okay.
Thank you. That is Clemson and Tennessee, the Orange teams in the Orange Bowl. Do you think who has more motivation in that game?
I would think Clemson, especially because DJ Uyunglele, the era's over. I mean, he's done. He's in the portal.
He's in the portal.
So this is a building block, I think, for them into next year. However, Hendon Hooker also hurt for Tennessee. I don't know what the status of him.
And it's a shame he didn't get invited to the Heisman, but
so
I think that injury
already throws off the balance. And who does Tennessee have behind him?
Injuries, opt-outs. Good luck picking these games. We're going to try to do it. Coaching changes galore. It is very, very difficult to understand who is going to win these games, but it's a fun lineup. A lot of these games would be playoff games in 2 years, so it becomes even more fun. So let's bring on Shiner Cam. And,
there he is.
There he is.
Hello, all.
Let's bring him on and go to that special 3-box
here.
Hey,
look at that. Renovated, all new for this week.
Penn State, Utah.
Roar, Lions, roar.
Who's playing and who isn't?
So I have the list here from the Utah side. What we know so far, their star cornerback, Clark Phillips III, is not playing. Dalton Kincaid is also not playing, their star tight end, which is a lot of their offense.
He could have done a lot of damage against us.
I agree.
So as much as I kind of, I love it when you're going up against a team where it's full power versus full power. I'm not upset that he will not be playing. Likewise, I'm sure they're not upset that Joey Porter Jr. is not going to be playing.
Correct.
That's a big loss, I think.
Yeah.
He was kind of the anchor of the defense this year. I think he led the nation in pass breakups. I mean, he's just a force to be reckoned with. But, hey, I mean, he's got the talent to go to the next level. It's hard for these guys to get up for games that aren't for the playoff.
And for the injury risk, I totally get it.
But you know what helps us here? First of all, I think it's a tough – let me just give Utah all the credit in the world. You guys have heard me say this. I love Kyle Whittingham. I love that
coach.
Program. They've won the Pac-12 now 2 years in a row. The guy can coach. It's just a great, great system. They're physical. They're tough. Penn State has difficult with teams like that.
Sure.
But this all kind of worked out nicely for James Franklin in the sense that he's got so many young players on his team that the opportunity to go to a major bowl game like the Rose Bowl, really in one of the last years that the Rose Bowl is going to be
meaningful
like that, they're going to want to play in it. You have a 6th-year quarterback this is his last game. He's going to want to play in it.
Right.
We don't have a lot of opt-outs.
No,
as a
Parker Washington on our side of offense.
That's more of a medical thing from what we hear, and he is also declaring as well, right?
Right. He is declaring as well. We'll have to see where he falls. So, there's a couple. But it's not a major – like I think Alabama's probably going to be missing half their roster.
Yeah, I agree.
There's always that chance. But I think, the running backs, the O-line guys.
Tight ends.
The quarterbacks, the tight ends, a lot of the defense is still going to be there. They're going to want to play. They're going to want to win. And I think a Rose Bowl win this time around for Franklin's program, kind of rewriting what we did in 2016, would help now. You mentioned this, Dan. Franklin said it. He didn't feel we capitalized enough on that Rose Bowl season. Well, if we can win now with a young team, the reason most of them are playing, other than Sean Clifford, is they're all coming back, then you've got to take that into next year. So I just think that's going to be critical. All right, now, Eagles. I really want to get Mr. Shiner's thoughts on this team.
E-A-G-L-E-S. Eagles.
There it is.
I did not expect what we saw on Sunday. David, did you? Don't say yes because you're a liar.
No, I think all it did is just show how dominant the Eagles are because, we've been talking about the NFC East and how there's a possibility that the entire division can make it into the playoffs right now.
Absolutely.
It's still, just
especially
incredible.
That tie kind of messes things up a little with the Giants and the Commanders. But
do they play this week?
We can
yes, that is true.
No, I think it's
Monday. Might be the Monday night.
Monday Night Football, yeah.
But, to think that they were going to blow them out like that, I was really concerned that, Saquon would have a big game. But now this is 2 games in a row with premier backs that have been held to, I think, less than 30 yards.
Correct.
That defense is obviously shutting it down. I think Jordan Davis being back in and the additions on the D-line with Sue and –
it's a brick wall.
Yeah, that's a great point. Let's not forget about Sue coming in here. Yeah. I want to ask, though, and maybe this is not something that we can really put our finger on, but I don't want a cliched answer here, and I don't want an easy answer. We all know Jalen Hurts looks amazing, okay, but what has made this team so dominant? And, we're into December now, right? Why they just – a lot of teams are facing injuries. A lot of teams are not giving up, but it's like they've been through the ringer. Why are the Eagles looking better in December, and can the team maintain that? What is your assessment of why do they look so darn good right now?
Well, they sometimes say it's not the X's and O's, it's the Johnnies and Joes. I think this is the perfect blend of both right now. The coaching staff has flipped the script in 3 consecutive weeks between throwing for over 300 yards and rushing for almost 300 yards. Right. They just have everything at their disposal right now, and it's like, who are you going to cover? And who's coming back? Dallas Goedert. You throw that Rinko in there.
Where's the bell sound? Give yourself the bell sound.
It's going to take me a little bit. Hold on.
Okay, hold on a second. Dallas Goedert is coming back.
Yeah, so, that's a big, big part of this for sure because, who are you stopping? And when you have Jalen playing at the level that he is right now, as much as they dog the read option early on.
It's wonderful.
It's got these linebackers' heads on a swivel. They don't know. Jalen pulls the ball out of Miles Sanders' hands. I'm already thinking Miles has the ball. And next thing you know, Jalen's
So does the camera guy most of the time.
And then, just the passing game. He is a pocket passer. It's not one read and throw.
He's the number one pocket passer.
Yeah.
That's
ridiculous.
Wild.
And what do you think has made that difference? Brian Johnson?
I think what's made the difference, honestly, is the way their play calling goes. So I give Shane Steichen a lot of credit. He's so unpredictable right now. Nothing looks the same game to game. You can kind of watch an Andy Reid game, sort of know what's coming sometimes. But
and Andy Reid falls into that trap where sometimes he has a little bit of hubris where he's like, we're going to throw the ball no matter what. And that's where he's gotten in trouble in the past.
Even this past week, they almost gave up a huge lead to the lowly Broncos.
You guys are right. Sirianni has to be given a ton of credit. The OC.
Shane Steichen.
But Brian Johnson's the quarterback coach. Some people are saying that he could be up for a head job.
I agree. And so could Shane.
And, listen, because I think if you really get down to it, it's easy to, roll our eyes. At least I do. I'll be honest. How much does a quarterback coach matter in the NFL? Listen, it's a position coach. These guys are spending a lot of time with them. Jalen was already a great quarterback in college. But when you watch Sunday's game, just remember, in college, the guy got benched.
Right.
He had to
in the national championship.
He had to transfer. Okay.
Yep.
Now, if you watch college football like the three of us do, all of that was understandable at the time. But I think to an NFL fan that doesn't consume college, if we told them that this guy was benched and he had to transfer schools, I don't think they would believe it because, to me, his mechanics, some of the things, his decision making,
the way he throws the ball,
even his decision making is just incredible. And you got to give
something clicked, something worked.
The OC, the QB coach, and of course Frank Sirianni.
Frank Reich, Sirianni, Frank Reich back in the day.
So just
they
all
are a
of them.
QB factory. Maybe Howie Roseman was up to something.
How funny does that statement sound?
I know.
One other thing I just want to bring up, and I don't know if you guys caught it. It's been on Twitter a little bit. There was a shot of a bump cam either coming in and out of break, and it showed the wide receiver group sitting next to Jalen Hurts, and they're all laughing and joking and jumping around. I believe it was A.J. Brown and Quez Watkins, and Jalen Hurts is there, mean mug, just staring straight ahead. They were winning by 21 points. That dude is locked in, and I just don't know that there's anybody doing it better than him in the NFL right now.
Well,
the rent's got to be paid.
They need to be on a mission. And what I want to see is it's not enough for me. Listen, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be greedy. I don't want to just win the Super Bowl. I want to win 5. I want to win 6. I don't want to just win the World Series. I want to be a dynasty. Mm-hmm. Is it too much to ask for one of my teams to be a dynasty?
Well, I do think
I don't care. I want them to be.
In football, it's the hardest one to do.
And it all comes down to money in the end.
Unfortunately,
they're spending the money where they need to right now because they do have Jalen on the cheap. Now, will he become the next Tom Brady as far as contracts? Because, Tom Brady left a lot of money
to
keep the teams going there for a while. Now, was that Belichick
But again, the legacy matters.
Yeah, and you just have to do it the right way.
Here's another question. Donovan McNabb kind of got to this level with the Campbell Soup commercials and everything, but could Jalen be one of the faces of the NFL? It's something the Eagles haven't really experienced.
That's a good point. Donovan McNabb was a star. I mean, there was no doubt about it. I think Jalen has that potential. I think they have to make a run in the playoffs, though.
Right, I do.
Because none of this matters, guys, if we're going to sit here in January and have a very different podcast if they get eliminated in the first round. Let's move on to the playoff talk. Great segue. We know the Eagles are in there, the only team that's in. They are the best team in the NFL. Okay. The 49ers, they have injuries, but yet they came out and they just destroyed the Buccaneers. Now, I know the Buccaneers are not great, but this team looks like they could still make a run
100%.
Even though they are hurting.
Deebo Samuel, the latest to go down. They're down to their third-string quarterback. The Brock Purdy show has arrived in San Francisco.
Looked pretty good to me.
It's rolling, I know, and he was Mr. Irrelevant. He was the last draft pick, and now look at him. He's the envy of the league, having a third-string quarterback that's capable. I think the thing that we have to be cognizant of with the 49ers, their coaching, very similar to the Eagles, is very strong. And it may not matter who's
Kyle
behind
Shanahan.
center.
Well,
correct.
And how many backup quarterbacks has Shanahan worked with in his past and made it work?
Correct.
I mean, this guy's been doing it his whole career.
Yes, he has.
Even back to what his dad used to do.
So they may be the biggest threat to the Eagles here moving ahead.
It's an interesting theory. How about the AFC side? The Chiefs look good. I've got some questions here. Well, actually, I've got one more question about an AFC team we didn't talk about. What do we make of the Vikings?
Well, I think
Show
the Vikings.
Their true colors.
Yeah, exactly. I think kind of the way I feel about the Giants. Some fluky wins. I don't know if it's a fluky season. I don't think you can totally say it's a whole write-off.
Wins are wins.
Wins are wins.
Yeah, there's, of course, you always have the
but I think
they are what their record says they are. But
I think they're more pretenders. Them and the Giants.
There was a reason the Lions were favored last week. They won the game. They're shaky, right?
And watch out for the Lions. I hate to say it, but they can score points. Now, whether or not they can play defense for an entire game, that's a whole other question.
This is what every week Dan has at least one comment where I'm just like, watch out for the Lions. Okay.
MCDC, man. He's got him fired up.
I know. I can't believe it.
They are playing with more passion than they have the last several years.
And Jared Goff. Out of nowhere.
Number one pick, man.
I know. It's almost like he's showing his talent in, year 10, whatever it is.
Well, but again, sometimes it takes a different situation for somebody to thrive in. Maybe this is the right one for him. I think they have a better coaching staff.
Correct.
But let's get back quickly to the AFC side. Here's one more team I just want to, are the Dolphins going to Make it. I mean, what's going to happen?
They seem to be faltering down the stretch here, too.
Yeah, and this is one of those teams where it's like, okay, we've been there with the Eagles, right? You get out to a 7-0 start, and all of a sudden you're looking, and it's like it's
Steelers
December.
A couple of years ago.
You're 7-7, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, what happened to that hot start? And I feel like every time I turn on the Dolphins, it's like, oh, here we go again. Now they have to play the Bills this week. Little concern for Miami, but they're right there, right? I mean. The AFC East is one of those divisions that maybe they all get in.
Could be ripe for the taking. We'll have to see. Real quick here, I want to finish off our discussion of the Phillies because after we got off the podcast last week, they just kept spending money. So are the Mets.
Maybe they listened to us.
Yeah. The Phillies get a starter in Taijuan Walker. They also get a reliever in Matt Braum, and I don't think they're done yet.
Well, I want to ask you, especially you, Daniel, you're Mr. Baseball. You know these things. Matt Braum. Mm-hmm. Good decision, bad decision. We need a guy. We need a reliever.
I think it's great. He came off a strong year. He throws hard. I will be curious to see what the bullpen looks like coming out of spring training because it always evolves as the season goes on. But I think they need at least one more piece. So this is the other lefty to replace your favorite guy, Brad Hand. So Brad Hand will not be a part of the team.
My favorite guy?
Yeah, you loved him.
I don't think so.
Mr. Shiner, what else would you want on your Phillies Christmas
What do they
wish
need
list?
to do? That's a good question, yeah.
You know, I'm almost like too happy with what they've done. It's like, now are we going to spend money where we don't need to? Mm-hmm. But, I mean, you can't say they haven't done exactly what they need to.
Correct.
I mean, Trey Turner alone, I think, was
another
amazing
star.
Pack it up. That's
and the fact that these guys are taking less money to be a part of the Phillies, that says a lot about what the organization showed during this postseason.
I was my son had baseball workouts last night.
Got to get started early. It's wintertime.
And I was talking to another parent there, and they were amazed at the Trey Turner press conference. And they said, I mean, he seemed genuine, like he just wanted to be in Philly. And I said,
it seems like it's been in the works a while.
That's the difference with, to me, even Schwarber, Harper.
Castellanos.
These are big stars, but yet they seem like genuine, down-to-earth guys that actually do want to be in Philly and build something. You could go and have
a beer with them, right?
Yeah, and they just, it doesn't seem fake. Like, hey, yeah, I love Philly, and, I signed the big contract, I want to be here. No, it's like, I want to raise a family here. Mm-hmm. I want to play in front of these fans. And to me, that matters. If you don't have it in your heart, then you're not going to win championships. That's where I think the Yankees went wrong at the end of Steinbrenner's term there because they just went out and bought every big star.
Some dudes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but when the Yankees were really good, they had, again, I've made this comparison, they had guys that all were rowing the boat in the same direction.
Correct.
And I think this team, with those comments at Trey Turner's press conference, it's resonating with people.
Well,
I agree.
It's also, I think, similar to what the Eagles are going through right now. It seems like these guys are like genuinely friends. I mean, we know Bryce Harper and Trey, they obviously played together, but I mean, it's like they're having fun. And we always go back to they get paid to play a game. And I think that has a lot to do with, well, maybe I'll take $30 million less to go play with my friend. And I don't know if you guys saw that they keep showing this clip of when Bryce was on the DL. He was talking about who his favorite player in baseball was, planting that seed. Mm-hmm. There was all that talk about like how he was texting with Mike Trout back in the day.
Yeah,
he signs a 10-year, $300 million deal.
By the way,
something.
He could still come to Philly by the trade deadline.
Hey,
that's still a possibility.
When they're all 39 years old, it might not be too bad of a lineup.
Right,
and they're getting paid less too.
Yeah, you're right about that. Listen, I took a lot. I turned down money to sit here with you two. So, and I wouldn't change it.
No place you'd rather be.
I would change it for the world. All right, it is time to cue those games of the week.
Games of the week.
Now, I'm going to let Dan introduce these because these are the first three on the board here. We're picking 5 this week. We've got bowl games, and Dan, I want you to get the sponsors right.
Okay, so we have first the Duluth Trading Cure Bowl between the UTSA Roadrunners and the Troy Trojans, and that kicks off at 3 o'clock on Friday.
Yeah,
so
that's this Friday, and it's coming.
Yeah, it's coming up quick. Troy is a slight favorite in that, but this should be a fun opening matchup.
Are any of these outdoor games, by the way, because we want to talk to weather?
Yes,
okay,
indeed.
you scoured the list.
I scoured the list for some outdoor games. Cincinnati and Louisville. We might as well call it the Scott Satterfield Bowl.
Yes, you're
because
right.
of some weird coaching mischief there. It's the Wasabi Fenway Bowl. So Boston
Wasabi. Yeah, good.
Boston just got snow, mind you, so that could be interesting.
Fenway,
then,
nice.
We love Marshall. We love UConn here on this show. That is the Myrtle Beach Bowl.
Are they playing on the beach?
Well, no, they're not. Conway, South Carolina. Is the
one of our favorite.
One
of our favorite spots. But that's my son's second favorite team. His name is Marshall.
Well,
so
that
shout out to him,
sense.
and he loves the Thundering Herd.
And we love Charles Huff. So,
we do.
We may talk about that. We also love a little Jim Mora Jr. banter here on this show. And then finally, we go to the NFL for our games of the week. This is Thursday and Saturday. Again, try to keep all these days.
I can't.
It's hard. But
again, the NFL's taken over on Saturdays.
Even right here on ABC. So you can watch football on ABC. 49ers, Seahawks. So we go back to your friends and the Pete Carroll squad there in Seattle against the 49ers. Big divisional matchup for Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit to call there on Thursday. And then Dolphin and Bills, another divisional matchup. And could weather be a factor in Buffalo again?
I can't wait to hear because I got behind on some things, and you studied this week more than I did. Let's break them down. We've got the, what is it, the Duluth Trading?
The Duluth Trading Cure Bowl, UTSA and Troy. Weather should be fantastic in sunny Orlando, Florida for that. However, if you are traveling to this game or maybe traveling to Florida in general, Friday, the front is passing by. There's a lot going on to our south here this week, mainly because of a developing storm, but the front will pass, it looks like, in time for kickoff for that game. But temperatures a little bit on the cooler side behind that front for Florida standards in the 60s. Winds will be picking up as well behind that front, something to keep in mind if you are playing some odds on this game.
Yeah, by the way, all these games that you pick not only are outdoors, but there's a close spread. How about Fenway?
Yes, so there still could be some remnants of this passing nor'easter. Now, it should be warm enough by Saturday. We're not talking about accumulating snow, but keep an eye on the forecast for Thursday, Friday in the Boston area for snow because of that nor'easter I just mentioned, and we'll be talking, of course, about that more for our local forecast, but there are the remnants as Boston, always near the water, kind of on that edge of the snow-rain line.
Warm area, yeah, it's going to be close.
So Fenway, it could be a little bit damp there during the game, some remnants, but also the wind. We know nor'easters are known for wind, so the wind will be shifting out of the northwest. It'll be a blustery day.
And they're playing a bowl game here?
I know, and these are fairly warm weather cities. I mean, Cincinnati's certainly warmer than Boston, and Louisville certainly to the south. This could get a little bit ugly, I think.
I think so, too. And then our friends in Conway with, of course, I think the teal turf there, right?
Yes, the teal turf. This is Myrtle Beach. Monday. Looks like we'll be clearing out in time for that game. But keep in mind, I mentioned some of the chill behind this cold front. A little chilly there in South Carolina. Temperatures may peak near 50 degrees, and that might be about it. So much for going somewhere warm for a bowl game. Winds, again, every once in a while may be breezy,
not
but
too bad
not a big factor. And then finally,
what about these divisional games?
The divisional games. So there's a lot of weather to run through here. I think Seattle is going to be perfectly fine on Thursday, but it's more of the cloudy, overcast days of the Pacific Northwest, but the clouds should clear in time for the game and dry. A lot of the games recently in the Pac Northwest have featured some weather. Winds actually out of the east. There's some weird things going on in the northern U.S. with an easterly wind over the next couple of days.
Aha.
Now, let me catch my breath. We still have Buffalo to go, and always an interesting place to play football games this time of year. This is Saturday.
Yeah.
And because of the winds behind this system.
Nor'easter, yeah. They're going to be blowing from the northwest, and that means some lake effect.
Yes, so we are watching the lake effect snow machine again. These bands will set up during the day on Saturday. I would love to see a snow-covered field for a divisional game.
By the way, we're not talking about days and days of this. It's not going to be the 5 feet they had earlier. But
Correct.
I'm telling you, what that looks to me, Dan, and let me get a little technical here,
Go right ahead.
meteorologically. There are times, depending on how the lake effect band's set up, where you can get multiple bands coming across the lake. If that happens, you're going to get northwestern PA, parts of western New York to get some snow. But that, to me, looked like a single band orientation. And you know what I'm talking about. There is a difference between single bands and multiple bands. If you get the winds coming right across the lake.
The whole length of the lake, southwest to northeast.
A single band is way more favorable for a dump of snow in Orchard Park, New York, than some multiple bands.
So be that as a strong warning for that game, because I think that could make things very interesting. So now we go to our picks for these games, and Brett, let's kick things off. You like the Roadrunners, my friend?
I do. I think it's a tough one. I just think they have such a high-scoring, high-powered offense. I think that they are going to win. It's only a 1-point line, so I'm just going to take the Roadrunners. Beat me. Money line.
Money line for you. I'm going to take Troy. I have a stat for you. They are 8th in scoring defense. So that means they give up very few points a game. I think that could slow down UTSA.
Yeah, so I'm going with their offense, and you're saying, not so fast, my friend.
Not so fast.
The Troy defense is going to do it.
And trying to keep track of these opt-outs, very concerning, very tough to do if you're trying to bet on these games.
Yeah,
Jabre Barber missed the last 7 games of the season for Troy. His status still remains uncertain for Friday.
Yeah, and that's another reason why I'm taking those Roadrunners. Now, the Scott Satterfield Bowl.
Yes. How about Cincinnati and Louisville? This is a pick'em game, so you have to just pick one or the other. What do you think?
Well, yeah, actually, I think when it closed, I think Louisville may have been a 1-point favorite.
Yeah,
but
close enough.
It is close enough. Give me Cincinnati, because I think Louisville faltered down the stretch. Their coach just left for Cincinnati.
Yes. Now they have some opt-outs.
I don't think they're gonna be great.
So tight end Leonard Taylor, Josh Weil, and receiver Trey Tucker won't be playing for Cincinnati as they prepare for the NFL draft.
Yeah.
And their center entered the transfer portal. That's an interesting development for Cincinnati.
Yeah. Well, keep in mind they lost their coach too, so this is the coachless bowl. And it's tough to pick.
And to go to that point, Jeff Brom joining the Louisville staff, again, not a move I'm super excited about. I like Jeff Brom in the Big Ten. But for Louisville, their running back Tyon Evans and receiver Tyler Hudson are not expected to play in the bowl. So that may tap down their offense just a little bit.
Yep.
I'm taking Louisville.
Flip a coin here.
Flip a coin.
I'm going to take Cincinnati. And then we both like the Thundering Herd. How about that to cover the 10 points against Jim Mora? Now, I think this one could be closer, but I think at the end of the day, I like Marshall's athletes. I don't know if we have any opt-outs.
No opt-outs. So no opt-outs for Marshall.
I like Charles Huff. I like the Herd, and I think they're going to roll.
And other than UConn, they lost to running back Nathan Carter, their third leading rusher, to the transfer portal. It looks like everyone's a go for Jim Mora Jr.
I will say, how great is it that UConn's in a bowl?
I mean,
that's phenomenal.
It's almost historic.
Shout out to those guys there. Okay, and then the picks of the week here for us. We do differ here. I'm done with Pete. I'm picking the 49ers, and I know it's tough up there in Seattle, but give me Kyle Shanahan to get it done and to cover the 3.5 against Petey.
This is a must-win for Pete Carroll and company. I'm going to take them at least to cover.
Yeah, it's not a bad pick. It's just, again, to me, it's a flip a coin, but I'm done with Pete. And then,
are you done with Mike McDaniel too?
No, listen. I'm back on the Bills here again. I mean, if it's snowing,
it could be a huge.
You got to pick Miami. You got to pick a faltering Miami team in Buffalo.
And Tua was very inefficient here this past week. He may be trending back toward the norm for him to Earth. So again, very interesting games here. Thursday, Saturday. Keep that all straight. Now, we mentioned snow on the radar. How about we go under the radar?
Under the radar.
Got another bowl game for us, Danny?
Oh, we do. And this is a fun one because wait till you see this over-under.
64 in a bowl game.
64. SMU versus BYU. Probably no defense in this one.
Yeah, and this is, again, though, it comes down to I like the Mustangs. Give us the opt-outs. Do we have anybody? Because BYU has kind of faltered, too. They started hot, and I'm not a Kalani Sitake, I really like him, but I just don't know if they can get it done here.
So what I have here is the standout receiver for SMU, Rashee Rice. I hope I'm saying his name right. He has over 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns. He won't play due to a toe injury.
Ah, boy.
Okay, but on the BYU side, Jaron Hall was banged up at the end of the regular season, and it's still uncertain if he plays. And this is the New Mexico Bowl.
Sponsor?
It seems to be. Oh, yes. They don't have one, according to my list here. This is taking place at University Stadium in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Ooh, good.
As of Monday night, so again, this is recording on Tuesday. As of Monday night, the chances of Hall suiting up So again, quarterback Jaron Hall seemed to be decreasing, so he may not play. Keanu Hill, who had 36 catches, also uncertain after leaving Stanford against an injury. And then a linebacker, their second leading tackler, entered the portal, and linebacker Peyton Wilger also out for BYU. So
did they have anybody left?
Limping in. I like this game because I like Rhett Lashley of the Mustangs.
Yeah.
They also had some portal people as well in the middle of the season decide to bolt the program.
All right, so what does the weather look like?
So weather in New Mexico, a little chilly here on Saturday.
And this is an outdoor game? Are we sure of that?
I'm almost certain this is an outdoor game. I don't know much about New Mexico University Stadium in Albuquerque, but I'm fairly certain this is outdoor.
It looks good.
Look at the temperatures here to start out. I mean, this is desert country, so it gets cold in the morning. But
this is a Saturday night game, so let's
Saturday
see
night,
where we stand.
Playing forward, temperatures, it's slow climb here. And by the way, this is more of that cold air on the backside of this big storm coming across the United States. Now, I think things are calmer in Albuquerque, but still more of a north wind here at times on Saturday. So all things to keep in mind here under the radar. So let's go to our picks for this game.
I got to tell you, with everything that you just said, I'm more and more in love with SMU.
I think this could be a big trouncing wins for the Mustangs.
And again, I think BYU was not showing up at times for me too. I like the Mustangs, and we both like them to cover the 5.5.
We certainly do. And I think, again, I picked this just because I think it's going to be a fun game to watch. It's outdoors. We got confirmation there from Mr. David Shiner.
That's why we have him. That's why we have him here. So
it's
good job on finding those. Doesn't make them any easier to pick, I will tell you. Let's head on to our next segment. We each pick a game now. We were doing 3, but Davey, cue us up with our Brett's Best.
Time now for Brett's Best.
How about those Texans?
The circus music is in town. Perfect for the Texans. That almost upset the Cowboys. Well, guess what? They stink.
They stink, and they just couldn't finish.
No, I'm taking Patty Mahomes. I'm taking Andy Reid. I love the State Farm mustache commercial.
That is a good one.
And I'm going to be drawing a mustache and a beard on Lovie Smith on Sunday at 1 o'clock because I'm going to pick the Kansas City Chiefs.
Should Lovie hang it up?
I think so. But I'm NRG Stadium. I'm picking Andy Reid. Okay.
Let's go back 1. Here we go.
Okay. Time for your dandy.
It's Doppler Dandies.
There it is. I like these divisional games. Just something to keep in mind for the Ravens and Browns. We don't know who's going to be quarterback for the Ravens.
Yeah, now they were able to get a win on the road in Pittsburgh. Now they have to go on the road to Cleveland.
Yes, but now they're down to their third-string quarterback potentially, who I don't know much about, to be honest with you. I know he went to Oregon. He finished out the game with a few passes, but that game was close against the Steelers.
Is this a Saturday game?
It is I do believe it is a Saturday game. I think I left Thursday on there by accident. But
yeah, I just wondered because, again, lake effect.
I know lake effect could be an issue in Cleveland. It's something to keep in mind. I do think the Browns have an advantage here. And now they're not a playoff team.
No.
Let's get this straight. But the Ravens may not be either right now. It is Saturday game. So apologize about that. But again, Saturday game.
4:30 Browns.
I like the Browns.
Okay. Let's reveal
final picks.
The final picks, and here we go. So we're going against each other here, Dan. I'm going to take UTSA. You've got Troy.
I got Troy because of the defense, but that may be the only separating factor at the moment for me.
We've got Cincinnati. You've got Louisville. Now, we're both on Marshall. We're both on the Bills, and we're both on SMU. Meanwhile, the 49ers, I like them to go on the road and get the win and the cover against Pete Carroll.
Okay, so we'll see about that game. I really think the Browns pull this one out against the Ravens. It makes the AFC North very interesting because, let's face it, no one seems to want to come out of there clean.
No, it really. And I think Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes could just cement the fact that they're probably the best team in the AFC with a 14-point win. Now,
I hesitate to do this. But
we're going to do it.
It's time for a side bet.
Okay, pull up the side bet email because I do want people to still send us their ideas. But we are going to honor Mike Leach this week.
Yes, we are.
And which game do you want to do it on? Which game are you feeling most confident?
I think I want to do the Seahawks 49ers.
But you know what? That's an NFL game. I feel like maybe we should do a college game for the old Pirate.
Which one do you want to pick?
But the problem is I'm not seeing what I like, so I'm going to stick with you. Okay. I will do the 49ers and the Seahawks, and the loser has to dress like a pirate. in honor of the pirate himself.
Swing your sword, Mike Leach. Swing your sword.
Now, we need to find pirate gear.
I have a hat. I do know that.
I think my son
may
have it. You
know
a guy?
Okay. We'll find some
stuff.
Okay.
Okay. See, once again, this is why we have Shinetastic, Mr. Shiner, coming through for us. But next week, if the 49ers don't cover, I'm going to be dressed like a pirate. And if the Seahawks don't keep it close, you're going to be dressed like a pirate. And we got to do it because we love the man. You got to tune in for that. So we wish you the best of luck if you're playing any of these lines. Good luck.
Indeed.
Especially the college bowl games, because it is going to be tough. Thoughts and prayers to Mississippi State and everybody touched by the life of the wonderful and great coach, Mike Leach. Thanks for being here.
It's been a fun podcast.
Pirate costume on the line.
I love it. What a way to honor head ball coach Mike Leach.
Sounds good. Everybody have a great week. We'll see you right back here next week.